Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something, well, kind of controversial. It's this powerful idea from the book Creating by Stealing that says to be a true genius, you've got to learn how to steal.
Okay, so first up, let's just tear down this whole myth of the lone genius, right? We're always told that creativity is like, poof, conjuring something out of thin air. But what if that's just completely wrong?
So this is where it all starts, this famous quote from Pablo Picasso. And let's be real, it's a little bit dangerous, isn't it? He's not just saying it's okay to borrow. He's drawing a huge line in the sand. Good artists, they just copy. But the great ones, they steal. They absorb an idea so deeply, they make it their own.
And that, right there, is the million-dollar question. What separates a celebrated genius from just a common plagiarist? It's a super fine line, and figuring out where that line is, well, that's the secret we're going to unpack today.
So, here's the big, surprising truth the book lays out. Nothing is truly original. Seriously, every single new piece of art, every invention, is really just a remix of what's already out there. Your genius isn't about inventing from scratch, it's all about recombination.
I mean, just look at these icons of innovation. Disney didn't just invent their fairy tales out of nowhere, they remixed stories that were centuries old. Steve Jobs didn't invent the graphical user interface. He saw its potential at Xerox and completely transformed it for the rest of us. And Howard Schultz didn't invent the coffee shop. He basically stole the entire vibe from Italian espresso bars. This isn't just theft, it's theft as innovation. So if stealing is the path, we've got to understand the two ways to do it. The book makes this really crucial distinction here. It asks, are you going to be a petty thief or are you going to be a master thief?
This chart just breaks it down perfectly. A petty thief, or a chateau, simply imitates. They're just copying what's on the surface. But a master thief, a shentou, which you could translate as a divine or even a godlike thief, goes so much deeper. They internalize, they transform, and they create something entirely new from the raw material. One is a photocopier, the other is an alchemist.
And I absolutely love this analogy from the book. You can see the original text right here on the slide. The master thief is like a bee. Think about it. A bee doesn't just go to one flower. It visits hundreds of different flowers, digests all that nectar, and then transforms it into something completely new and unique, its own honey. Our goal? We want to become the bee.
So how do we actually become the bee? How do we build our own creative beehive? Well, the good news is it's not magic. It's a process. The book lays out a super practical, 4-step toolkit for becoming a master thief.
Yeah, check out some of these original diagrams from the book. They visualize creativity not as some random lightning strike, but as a system you can actually build. It's like a creative engine that you can intentionally fire up whenever you need a new idea.
Okay, let's walk through this toolkit. Step 1, copy. Now hold on, not to plagiarize, but to absorb. You have to learn the rules before you can break them. Step 2, deconstruct. You take the thing you admire apart, piece by piece, just to understand how it works. Step 3 is the most important, color. This is where you come into the picture, adding your own style, your unique perspective. And finally, you piece it all together, reassembling the parts into something that is now truly, completely yours.
Now let's get even more practical. If those 4 steps were the what, this next part is the how. We can actually think about these creative actions using 4 simple operations we all learned in elementary school math.
You can think of your brain as a creative computer, like the systems you see diagrammed here. But any computer needs an operating system, right? Well, these 4 operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, they are the OS for your creativity.
First up is addition. This one's the most intuitive. You find a model that's already successful and you build on it. Think about the first iPhone. It was a great phone. But then Apple added the App Store, and boom, they created a whole new ecosystem of value right on top of that original idea.
Next, we have subtraction, and this one is my favorite because it's so counterintuitive. Instead of adding more, you win by taking things away. Just think about the first Google search page. While everyone else cluttered their pages with news and weather, Google subtracted everything but the search bar, focusing obsessively on the one thing that mattered most.
And of course, the master of this was Steve Jobs. As he said, innovation isn't about saying yes to everything, it's about saying no. True genius is often found not in what you put in, but in what you have the courage to leave out.
Multiplication is where the real disruption happens. This is all about combining 2 ideas that seem totally unrelated to create an entirely new category.
You multiply a bookstore by the internet, you get Amazon. You multiply a hotel by a spare bedroom, you get Airbnb. This is how new industries are born.
And finally, we have division. This is about taking something huge and complex and making it simple and accessible. The perfect example is Google again. It took the chaotic, sprawling mess of the early internet and divided it into a single, searchable index, making all of that information useful to every single one of us.
When you really internalize this whole toolkit, your entire perspective on the world it changes. You don't see finished products anymore. You see a massive library of component parts, a collection of ideas just waiting for you to check them out and remix them.
This mindset is captured perfectly in this image from the book. You're not just trying to solve the puzzle anymore. You're trying to understand how the puzzle itself is built. You stop passively waiting for inspiration to strike, and you start actively hunting for ideas to deconstruct, to color, and to rebuild in your own image. Ultimately, it all comes back to the bee. We all have access to the same garden of ideas, the same flowers of inspiration. The final creation, the honey, is unique not because of the flowers, but because of the bee's internal process. Your perspective, your experience, your taste, that is the secret ingredient. That's the one thing no one else can ever steal from you.
So, as we finish up, I have a challenge for you. Look at the world differently. See it as your library. It is filled with brilliant ideas just waiting for a master thief like you to come along. The only question is, what great idea will you steal today?